So Ryan, tell me, what's on your radar?
So heading into the second phase of Democrats' two-track infrastructure strategy, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell had one piece of strategic counsel for his fellow Republicans. Do everything in your power to buck up Arizona Democratic Senator Kyrsten Sinema, in the hopes that she could be peeled away and derail the second $3.5 trillion package. So Republicans dutifully praised her commitment to bipartisanship, her integrity, her independence, and then they infuriated her by blowing up her coveted vacation. Sinema, according to people with knowledge of her grievance, has been complaining widely about the petulant behavior of Republican senators in the final stretch of negotiations over the bipartisan infrastructure package, which clocked in at $550 billion in new spending. Once an agreement had been reached, Sinema and many of her fellow negotiators believed that there was no reason to drag the process out, and Sinema felt the package could have been approved as early as Thursday, giving her time to make it to her longed-for vacation, which she had been lusting after on social media. On Monday, August 6th, Sinema shared a post to her Instagram stories from a page she follows, Women Who Love Wine. The post's message: I put my symptoms into WebMD, and it turns out I just need a bottle of wine and a vacation. So all that potential revelry turned into ashes in her mouth, however, when some Senate Republicans refused to cut short the amendment process. So not only did Sinema not get to leave for vacation, she was stuck in Washington through the entire week and weekend, where she remains, making repeated trips to the Senate to participate in the vote-a-rama that kicks off the budget reconciliation process, which is a process that is roughly as fun as it sounds. The particular senator who blocked what's known as a, quote, time agreement that would have allowed the bill to pass more quickly was a Republican from Tennessee, Bill Hagerty. That was on Tuesday, the day after Sinema had been wistfully posting about the wine in her future. On Wednesday, Hagerty came to the Senate floor requesting unanimous consent for a series of amendments he wanted to offer.
And that there be 2 minutes for debate, equally divided, prior to each vote.
Is there an objection?
Oh, you better believe there's an objection. Kyrsten Sinema rose, telling Hagerty through a smile and gritted teeth that she was objecting to his request because he had objected to hers.
The senator from Arizona.
Reserving the right to object. Thank you, Madam President. As my esteemed colleague from Tennessee is aware, and as we all are aware, the Senate operates under unanimous consent, reserving the right and the prerogative to any one senator to object to moving forward when consent is not present. Now, as the senator from Tennessee made clear yesterday in his remarks on the floor, he has declined to provide unanimous consent for a time agreement moving forward in this post-cloture time period. I'm sure it will then come as no surprise to him that there are senators on both sides of the aisle who object to unanimous consent on one or more of the amendments listed in his proposed list today. I'm sure that he offers the same level of respect to those senators denying their unanimous consent as has been offered to him as well.
And here's how she finishes it.
Again, as I've mentioned, it requires unanimous consent to both move forward with all of the amendments or any of the amendments, as well as a time agreement. And as we have seen today, we do not have unanimous consent on either a time agreement or on moving forward on amendments. And therefore, Madam President, I propose that we continue moving forward under regular order. And with that, I object.
So the makeup of the Senate is such that Sinema's attitude toward Republicans, as emphasized by McConnell, could be a contingent factor on which the course of history hinges. That's crazy, but that's the system we have. A robust $3.5 trillion package, followed by voting rights reform, itself facilitated by reform of the filibuster, would represent a transformational break from 40 years of neoliberal dominance. Sinema and Senator Joe Manchin have it within their power to see that agenda through. The latter, especially, remains a long shot. But with no room for error, Republicans may have stumbled into a Titanic blunder by nixing Sinema's getaway. Now, how crazy would it be if, as a result of them scotching the early part of her vacation, Sinema winds up infuriated with Republicans and is then more willing to work with Democrats? Now, over the last 24 hours, she did side with Republicans, fairly regularly on amendment votes on the Senate floor. So it's not as if she's holding like a permanent grudge. But from what I've been told, and you can even see it on the Senate floor there, she was not happy.
Well, it's no surprise that jet fumes are kind of the biggest motivator for senators getting back to their districts, senators and House members, I should say. But I give a ton of credit to Kyrsten Sinema. We need more members, not fewer, who are willing to work across the aisle and not see things purely on party lines. She's not beholden to anyone other than the Arizona voters. She represents a purple state, one that could easily go either direction. And I think the fact that she works with Republicans almost as frequently as her Democratic caucus is a positive thing. My indication is this: she's going to, on the broader infrastructure package, she's been largely supportive and willing to work with Democrats. I think we're going to have a much harder time when there's a massive reconciliation package pushed through that's counter to what her voters back home want to see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see exactly what she counters in that bill. She has kind of said that she's, not totally for it, but she hasn't really given any details as to what exactly she's not for. But, when it comes to if she ends up voting against it, if she ends up pushing back on it too much, then there are going to be, I think, a lot of questions from Democrats on just which party does she actually belong in, because it is questionable sometimes with her.
Right. And what she has said, and Kim's right, she has said that she would not support a $3.5 trillion package. And the response from most Democrats has been, okay, fine, whatever. It'll be 3.49, and you can squeeze $1 billion out of it, or you can squeeze $10 billion. I don't think it will wind up at 3.5 trillion. I think it will be trimmed down over the next several months. And people may think this is happening quickly. No, I think if I had to guess, right before Thanksgiving will be the deadline that they finally finish this up. I don't know what it'll come in at. Won't be 3.5 trillion, but Sinema will definitely take chunks out of it. But if Republicans keep monkeying around with her, then maybe she takes less out of it than she otherwise would.
Well, I wouldn't overstate how much she wanted her glass of wine. She can get one in D.C. if she has to. But I would say this. I think, she and Joe Manchin are people who on the left get a lot of criticism. I would argue it's actually much easier to be somebody who is such a regular, expected, down-the-road progressive vote like an Elizabeth Warren that gets to vote purely on her own ideology than it is to be somebody who represents, again, a purple state, votes with her constituency, and is often bucking her party. I mean, that's what takes courage. That's also where good policy making that has bipartisan input and stands to last through multiple administrations tends to be made. So I commend her. I think that we need more people like her in the Senate, not fewer. The more that the parties, the makeup of the Senate goes to the polars of both sides, the more we're going to see just absolutely nothing getting done.
Oh, and let me add, on this particular question, I'm on Sinema's side. If the thing is done, let her go on her vacation. And I do wish her a very relaxing time throughout this August, and we'll see her back in Washington in September. And we'll have more Rising for you right after this.